Hey guys, Stitches here, and if you haven't noticed by the title of the video, this is the 50 subscriber special for the channel. And yeah, so I kind of wanted to just do for this subscriber special a look back over the past 3 years or so of the channel. But first, you may notice the camera angle is a little different. I actually borrowed my stepmother's tripod for this. She has a little tripod. I don't. I should probably get one off somewhere like Temu or something. But the past 3 years have been insane because this month actually marks the 3-year anniversary of the first upload on this channel. So I've technically been making videos on this channel for 3 years. And I just kind of want to talk about that, like how wild that is. Because that's just fucking nuts that we've been doing this for 3 years. And it doesn't feel like 3 years, and I have a couple of guesses as to why. So, yeah, I also kind of want to apologize. My hair is a little messy. I have not showered yet. I was debating whether or not to shower before or after this video. I decided with after because my hair looks even worse when wet. So I'd look like a wet dog the whole time, and my beard gets all weird. It gets weirder. It gets weirder when I shower, so until it dries, and I wouldn't have enough time for it to dry because I have to do some work later. You can also see my forehead's kind of greasy because the light up there is reflecting on it. But yeah, 50 subscribers. It's insane. I want to thank you all so much for watching. This isn't the end of the video, obviously. But, you know, I remember when I made the 5 subscriber special like 3 years ago. And it's amazing that to me, that within that time, it's multiplied tenfold. And I kind of just wanted to talk about like some of my experiences while running the channel. You know, just some thoughts. This is just kind of a rambling video. But I suppose rambling is what you guys show up for, since you could just buy the games that I'm playing. Most of the games I play aren't super rare. I think the rarest game I probably have played is Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World. Even though it was a pack-in game. You know. But, yeah, it's just crazy that, 3 years of doing this, and I wanted to go through it. So, the first Let's Play I ever did was Mega Man, and the first video I ever did on this channel was it was a Mega Man talk-over video. It was a video essay style video where I talked about Mega Man, and I kind of want to redo it. Just like redo it because that video is kind of unfocused. It wasn't super scripted. And, it was just an interesting experience to do that. But I do want to talk about that because I talked about doing that for other series, and I don't think I've uploaded a single one of those since. I've done some video essay-esque videos, or just discussion videos like this one where it's, me to you guys directly, but it's mainly just because there's a lot of effort that goes into it, and I do kind of want to do one soon for Kirby and also one for Sonic. And I kind of want to utilize like Google Slides or PowerPoint for those, which I know sounds lazy, but like it's just kind of how it is. I also want to more heavily edit those since the editing process has been streamlined where I'm more comfortable with editing multiple clips in a row together. So, you know, I'm hoping maybe I can produce a better quality one. I'm also not just going to sit around in the in game museum for Mega Man, you know? Like, there's no in game museum really for Kirby. So, you know, just kind of want to, go through all that and maybe make some of those. But that video was rather interesting because the idea behind it is that I kind of explain a series to the viewer to see, like, gauge interest. And then after that, you're like, well, maybe I want to see some gameplay. And it's like, well, now you can go and watch, the following Let's Play. And that's why if you go back to the Mega Man 1 Let's Play and the Mega Man whole series, I think that video is just there because it's like the first part. But I kind of cut out of that, and there's a little bit of less rigidity to all of that. And there's some of them that like I want to do that are like shorter ones, like Dr. Mario. Like talking about Dr. Mario is pretty simple. You just talk about, oh, like this is what Dr. Mario is. It's a puzzle game based on Mario, except he's dressed as a doctor, and it's just like, But when it comes to when it comes to when it comes to the like overall making of them, it can get pretty dicey as to like whether or not I'm willing to finish it. You know what I mean. So it's just longer, more prepped projects like that take a little more effort than, not that I'm willing to give, but they take a little more effort than I necessarily have available to give at certain points in time. And it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, oh well, maybe I don't really want to do this video anymore, so now I've wasted all this time, or like I do one as a prep for another series and I just haven't done it yet. Or like another thing is if I do it for a series, like should it count towards the uploads for that week? Or should they be bonus uploads? To be honest, I don't even know if this video is going to be a bonus upload. There's a chance this may go out on the VOD day, and there's a chance that it may not, because I think I've said both in videos. I've been kind of back and forth on it. It's more just like the situation of it all. Because tonight I got a stream so that I have another stream VOD to put out tomorrow. And yeah, so it's just going to be, we'll see how that is. But, yeah, so when I made that first video, the intent was that there would be one every single new franchise. And I even set it up like I was going to do a Mega Man X version when I get to Mega Man X. And if you're curious, I'm not necessarily playing every series in order. It was just that with Mega Man, it's such like a numerical series that it's just like, I can honestly play any of the games interchangeably. I just prefer to play them in ascending order. But, yeah, that's really that. So, as for why I picked Mega Man to be my first Let's Play, it was kind of just like a hyper fixation at the time. Like, many people will know that I have like ADHD and I'm very quite possibly autistic. I've never been fully tested for autism, but I basically went to the doctor when I was younger and they kind of explained that it would be more in my best interest to just not get tested, but keep in mind that I might be autistic. Especially because I think at the time there was a lot of things with like ADHD, and they were like, well, is ADHD autism? Because a lot of people, will have both. And while it is quite possible to not have both, it's a it's a fairly common pairing in the, you know, in the spectrum to have both ADHD and autism. So at the time, when I picked Mega Man, it was a hyperfixation. What this is basically, here, let me take a drink real quick and I'll explain it. Basically, what a hyperfixation is it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's basically you get so intently focused on something, it kind of just becomes your favorite thing that defines your personality for a little bit, and then it's gone. And like lately I've gone through like some different hyperfixations. I'm gonna adjust the camera a little bit because something is bothering me with how it's laid out. But you know, a hyperfixation for me will be like I'm obsessed with this video game now for a while. And that does kind of work well when you do Let's Play content and kind of doesn't, because depending, the way my hyperfixations work is they last and then they just disappear and I have no motivation to play a game anymore. Like pretty recently, my off-camera hyperfixation has been Red Dead Redemption 2. And the thing is I played Red Dead Redemption 2 last summer. In the later half of last summer, I played Red Dead Redemption 2 and then proceeded to not really play it for like a whole year. Then I picked the game up again and I finished the game. And I think part of this is because hyperfixations cause burnout as well, so there's that. But I did finish Red Dead Redemption 2, at least the main story. I got to the epilogue, and I liked the epilogue, but I've been, distancing myself again from the game. Mainly because I got a new game, which was Shovel Knight. I just beat Shovel of Hope yesterday after I played it 2 days in a row and got, a total of 10 hours of gameplay, so that's nice. Well, it says it's a total of 10 hours of gameplay, but I guarantee that some of it's probably less than that, because I think I had the game paused for like a total of 2 hours while I went to go eat and stuff. But, that was how I picked Mega Man, and then Sonic, was going to go alongside it. Didn't really work out. Then it was supposed to be Kirby. I did Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. That worked fine. And then, we had issues with Kirby's Dream Land. And that's why the same week this is coming out, Kirby's Dream Land is finally coming off as a Game Boy one-off. And I'm kind of glad I held off on that, because I just did that through Switch Online. But originally I did it through emulation and had some weird issues with the emulator. For one, I could not get the emulator to display the correct color palette that I wanted to use for the game, so I ended up playing the game in black and white, which isn't bad, but it's just something that, like, I'm pretty sure when I first played Kirby, I played it in color. I might be wrong though. I don't know. It's kind of weird because like with when it comes to the 3DS eShop versions of those games, it's like sometimes they were in color and sometimes they weren't. Because I want to say Super Mario Land wasn't in color, but you can play Super Mario Land in color using using a Game Boy Color or a Game Boy Advance. So there is that, but when it came down to it, I just ultimately, my old computer was crapping out. That was when I went on the hiatus, and then I came back with Let's Play Live, Sonic Adventure DX. I am discontinuing the usage of the Let's Play Live thing. That doesn't mean that like I'm not still gonna do like effectively the same content. What it means is that the term Let's Play Live is no longer going to be used. And the main reasoning for this is there is a live show actually called Let's Play Live, and I don't want any accidental copyright infringement or confusion or anything. There's also a couple of different shows called Let's Play Live. So I'm just going to put live Let's Play. Because that makes more sense. I also mentioned that, live Let's Play isn't really going to be a new series. At the time, live Let's Play was really just a way for me to do Let's Play content, but it was live streamed. I didn't really look at the chat. I didn't really look at the chat much during Sonic Adventure. And, Sonic Adventure has some spotty quality, and I do want to redo Sonic Adventure at some point using the PC port. And, I may even do, like, the enhanced... Like, there's a mod for it that, like, supposedly fixes a lot of the glitches in the PC port, but I have to look at it because there's some things I don't like. For one, it forces the game into widescreen, which just on old games does not look good for me. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't like it when widescreen games are forced into widescreen like Mario 64. And I honestly am just not the biggest fan of, really any of that. So I prefer to keep games in their native resolution. I used to be able to play games stretched, but it started bothering me, so I prefer to play it fit to screen, which just means that it plays in the original aspect ratio, but it's just bigger on the screen. So, like, it'll go from, like, this square to, like, here, but then, like, here. So it'll still be, like, kind of letterboxed, but not fully. And, I prefer to play games like that because that's how the 3DS ran games, especially the retro games, was it run them. It'd run them in this way. As for Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland, I might redo it eventually. But I might do Kirby's Adventure because honestly, I prefer that version of the game. And I prefer Kirby's Adventure over Nightmare and Dreamland. I have kind of a little bit of beef with the Game Boy Advance to DS era of Kirby games because Kirby games, in my opinion, lost a lot of personality in that era. And honestly, I think that's the first example of what I like to call New Super Mario Syndrome, where a game just uses the same art style over and over. A game franchise, I should specify, like a game franchise uses the same art style over and over and over to where it's like all the games look the same. That's actually why I like Kirby Mass Attack a lot, is Kirby Mass Attack, the art style is still pretty similar, but like Kirby has so many more idle animations in that game. compared to the others. And you could argue that's because Mass Attack is a spin-off. But, you know, it's really neither here nor there. I just am not the biggest fan of when games use repetitive things. Which is weird because I like the new Super Mario Brothers art style. But I can tell that, like, it's been way overused, you know? The new Super Mario Brothers art style, it's really been overused, and it's kind of cool that they're stepping away from it. And you know, the new Super Mario Brothers art style had a thing where it kind of overstayed its welcome because it had this like 2000 stank on it, if that makes sense. There was like this time in the 2000s, it kind of really started with Mario Sunshine, but like it's almost like Nintendo tried to do a redesign for Mario, kind of like how Sega did with Sonic, where like, you know, Mario underwent a design change where it's like he kind of became lankier, you know, he wasn't really as chubby. And you know, he had this whole like they gave him this attitude about him which just kind of is uncharacteristic for Mario. They give him this, you know, attitude. And you know, there's the whole like tribal tattoo Mario thing, and then there's the whole Dance Dance Revolution Mario mix, like Super Mario 64, even though Super Mario 64 DS is like one of my favorite renders. That's all I was going to say is DS, but you know, like 64 was really the last time we saw like quote unquote classic Mario. But that's like the main reason though why I don't like Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland that much, is because it uses the Game Boy Advance style, which I personally heavily associate with Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. And the thing is people have been asking, are you going to do a Let's Play of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror? And by people, I mean like I'll have 3 people when I start talking about how I Let's Play Kirby. I talk about, because I always bring up Amazing Mirror, and people have asked me, well, are you going to Let's Play that? And the truth is, I don't know. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is good if you have online multiplayer, but it is bad if you don't. It's like, otherwise, you know, you'd have to, like, Nintendo Switch Online's the first time in a while Kirby and the Amazing Mirror has been re-released and has proper communication. It was on the 3DS as a part of the Ambassador program, but it was one of the 5 Ambassador program exclusive games. The other ones would get like better ports. They would get better ports as virtual console games, but you know, the Game Boy Advance, 5 Game Boy Advance games, or maybe it was 10. I think it was 10 each. I think it was 10 Game Boy Advance games that were virtual console only on the Ambassador program. And it's like weird because they don't have proper features, and the main working theory for this is the game acts like it's in DS mode when you play this. So the theory is that it goes into the 3DS turning into DS mode, which is then emulating a Game Boy Advance. So it's simulating a DS with the Game Boy Advance thing in it. And then when you press the home button, it briefly, you know, is like, hey, this will just take you back to the 3DS menu. So, you know, that is what it is. But, you know. So there was that. Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, pretty fun Let's Play. Took a while to do. Don't really regret it that much, and I'm honestly fine with the fact I played the Sega Ages version. Because, you know, I was thinking about doing Sonic Origins, but Sonic Origins is just so laughably bad. In, like, you know, this way it was me playing a legitimately obtained copy of Sonic 1. So, there's that. And like that's not to say I don't own Sonic 1. I think I own a Sonic 1 cartridge, like an actual Sonic 1 Genesis cartridge somewhere. I just don't know where. Um it may have been in my stuff and my mom's when I moved out, I don't know. But I did at one point own an actual Sega Genesis and Sonic 1 cartridge as well as a Sonic 2. I think I owned actually every Sonic game. Every Genesis Sonic game, like that was the main three, so or the main four, so it was like I had Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles all at once. But yeah, pretty it was a pretty interesting overall experience, the things I've gone through with Let's Plays. And with World of Goo, like that was a Let's Play that was just kind of I picked it because I wanted to play it. I haven't really had a good excuse to play World of Goo really, and it was one of those games where I'm just like, I'm just gonna Let's Play it because I already want to Let's Play it, but because like initially I was like, oh, I could play Little Inferno, but Little Inferno actually comes after World of Goo in terms of development, and there's actually references to World of Goo in Little Inferno. Not only that, but World of Goo 2 and stuff like that. Just all these circumstances made me want to play. All these circumstances made me want to play World of Goo first. Zelda 1 was a Let's Play that I picked because it was just a game I wanted to play. It was a game I had played before. Really this time I'm sort of tromping through new territory, stepping into semi-blind playthroughs. So, I'm trying to do maybe a little more semi-blind playthroughs because I thought about it and I thought about how it's kind of weird how I exclusively limit my blind playthroughs to Twitch. And I know why. It's because, with Twitch, I play for an hour. I play for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes up to 5 hours straight. And it's just me going through the process. And you can skip over until I've figured it out. So if people want to see me do particular parts, I can allow them to have that. And so people have said you should do a separate VOD channel. And the truth is I honestly don't, cuz I don't really want to do that. I really want to refrain from doing a second channel cuz I'm beginning to understand why, and part of it has to why people do second channels, and part of it has to do with the fact of YouTube recommends more your most recent video, more so than your previous video before it. So if I'm doing two separate Let's Plays, unless I space them out pretty equally, World of Goo kind of gets overshadowed by anything else I have going on. World of Goo has anything I have gets overshadowed by Zelda. Mainly because people were already watching Zelda, and people were watching Sonic, and Sonic ended. And I will admit, I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone here because World of Goo is the first modern game I'm really playing. That's World of Goo, I believe, came out in 2006. Or maybe it was 2008. I think it might be 2008, actually. World of Goo came out, within my lifespan, which is different from most games I play. Because, I was born in 2004, so now we're getting to the point where it's oh, I'm playing these games, that are more for my generation. And I know a lot of you guys are not of my generation, you're older, and there's nothing wrong with that. For the, like, I would say that my content's for people of all ages, but I technically have to put an asterisk and can't really say that. Because I technically can't say that, otherwise, YouTube starts marking your videos as for kids automatically, thinking it's like a mistake. But I've made it very apparent, like, my videos are not for kids. I even say it in my channel bio, like, none of my videos should be marked as for kids. And I know YouTube, like, early on, YouTube was really, like, slamming down the hammer with the for kids thing, where they're like, they were automatically changing, like, animation videos to for kids based on how people were viewing them. So, like, if people had, like, a certain account age, like an age on their account, YouTube would automatically make it for kids if they had a child to age as their account age and you were watching it. Anyway, hold on a second. But I very much encourage everybody to watch my videos with caution. I've always been one of those dudes who's like, I don't think the internet is necessarily bad for kids, but I do think that parents need to understand, like, what they get their kids into by getting them on the internet. Like, I definitely don't think kids should be on Twitter at all. The fact that I go on Twitter and I see, like, 12-year-olds who are like, they're posting their art on Twitter, and, like, that hits kind of close to home because sharing art is, like, something I'm still not even fully comfortable doing. I don't think at this point in time I've really posted any art I've drawn on Twitter, even if it's for friends. Like, I have drawn artwork for my friend Comifer, who, at the time, we were friends on Twitter. I met her through Twitter, but it's like, I don't really feel comfortable yet posting my artwork on Twitter, even though she's so encouraging about it. And like, right now I'm beginning to, like, draft, like, a comic as, like, my first Twitter artwork thing. And I've been thinking about maybe, like, sweetening the deal on my Ko-Fi backer, or my coffee backer. Sorry, I keep calling it Ko-Fi because I read it like Wi-Fi, but the backers on coffee, like, you guys really don't honestly have a full incentive to really go for the coffee page. Other people are like, oh, here's Patreon, you get to see uncensored cuts, or you get to see uncensored cuts, unedited versions of videos, early release versions of videos, and stuff like that. But the problem is, like, you really can't do that for my content. And I've also heavily modeled myself off of a non-third party inclusive, a non-inclusive environment for third parties, like Patreon or Ko-Fi, or sorry, Coffee. Just because it's like, I haven't really, I'm trying to adapt. And, like, the thing is my content arguably is out of date now. Like, one of the last major people that, like, did this style of content, he, as far as I know, is completely gone from the internet. Many people may know who I'm talking about. It's former, I don't even know if I should say former, the YouTuber Chugga Conroy had this whole thing go down where somebody basically, there was a bunch of shit slung around about him. A lot of it wasn't true. Some of it was true. Some of it was twisted versions of the truth. Basically, there were people who in his past had felt wronged, and they came forward and said certain things. There were people who got themselves into situations and handled it very poorly. People who accused him of doing certain things then showed their DMs, and it's just like not really a case of, oh, it was him being weird. It was you saying you were comfortable with something, and then, so he starts acting a certain way. You're not really comfortable with it. You don't say anything. And then, things get out of hand. He ended up having to talk about a bunch of shit that he didn't really want to, reveal a bunch of personal details. And honestly, at this point, it doesn't look like he's coming back to the internet. But he was one of the last people who really did this content. And, Chugga Conroy still is like a personal idol of mine. Like, looking at the stuff he has done, I can safely say that, like, Chugga Conroy, I see him, like, as a good person. A troubled person, but a good person. And, like, maybe I don't know the full details. Maybe I don't want to know the full details. Just based on everything I know about Chugga Conroy, he is a personal hero of mine. He's a big inspiration to this channel, and he is staying in this channel's subscription box. Which, by the way, I should mention my public subscriptions. Many people have questioned, like, if you have public subscriptions on this channel, why do you never comment from this channel on other things, really? And the answer is, I don't actually use this channel as my personal YouTube. I've sort of learned from past forays into YouTube content making that that's a bad decision. And honestly, I've learned that it's a bad decision from other people as well. Because, someone says something offensive, they start making content, they hit it big, and then all of a sudden this dirt gets dug up. It's like, I don't really want any dirt. I don't want people to be like, well, he commented on this guy's video, and this guy's actually like a Nazi or something. I don't know. That was the first thing that came to mind because I was just catching a little bit of Captain America upstairs. So, I don't want people to get the wrong idea. So that's why, like, I have public subscriptions. They're really just people that I'm subscribed to personally. Like, all of those people I am subscribed to personally. And, there have been people who have been removed for some reason or another. I know at one point I had Call Me Carson removed during the whole situation regarding him. I think it came out that the situation with him was, like, blown out of proportion as well. The whole situation with Call Me Carson was blown out of proportion, in that it was more just like, yeah, he technically did all those things that they said, but it was more so that there was, like, miscommunications involved, and the age gap was, like, really small, like less than a year or something like that. I don't really know. I'm not one to speak about this. I would honestly go and research anything I've talked about for yourself, just because I'm not moist critical. I have long hair and a beard, but I do not look at all like moist critical. I'm not moist critical at all, so, or any, type of the sort. So, don't really take what I'm saying, like, as fact. I just tell you what I have heard, or, like, what my personal experience has been with that stuff. But I don't actually know if I'm subscribed to Carson on this account. I honestly really don't watch Call Me Carson that much anymore, just because he kind of ended up having to get, like, a new crew, because a lot of his crew ended up, like, distancing themselves from him. I think some of them have come back, but it's like, a lot of these are people I don't really know, so it was like, you know. But, yeah. Anyway, moving on from that. Going forward. So, like, going forward, I do have a few projects planned. There actually has been a few projects that have been scrapped. In case if you're viewing this, Nate, by the way, Nate's my best friend who is I'm planning to bring him on to some projects. That one project that we worked on last summer has been completely scrapped. We can re-record it, but like just the whole process became a pain, and I've changed so much about how like OBS is working. You know what resolution we're actually recording at. That it's just like honestly, we should just redo it, especially once I get the wireless mics. But going forward, I do have a few projects planned. Some of these include projects like Undertale, like the actual Undertale, not Undertale Yellow, but the full original Undertale, the whole shebang. Um, I do want to do Subnautica. Subnautica is a pretty good game. It's a survival exploration game. That for a while didn't really have a set end, but they eventually introduced an ending, and the ending's actually pretty good. And it's a game that I kind of want Nate to be there for as well. Many people will know Nate was originally going to be involved in Hollow Knight. He is no longer involved in Hollow Knight. That's mainly just to do with like differences to how we approach Hollow Knight. Nate's played it so many times to where it's like he kind of goes like, ew, when I do things a certain way, or I kind of just want like certain choices to be left up to me entirely alone. Whereas like I can get advice from him if I need be between streams, so it's like, you know. I do want to do Shovel Knight potentially. I did beat Shovel of Hope, so I do at least want to do Shovel of Hope. Um, I am currently working on Plague of Shadows, which is the second playable campaign in that. But Shovel Knight's actually a pretty expansive game, because there's like 5 games within Shovel Knight. Treasure Trove. Treasure Trove has 5 games if you count Showdown. But like Shovel Knight Showdown is one of those games where it's like, you know, I don't really know fully. There's a couple of projects, I'm thinking about doing, but I haven't really fully settled on. I know one of the projects I'm considering for upcoming is Pikmin. Pikmin is a Wii game, so we'll see how that works. Um, it's mainly a possibility because of me getting a wireless microphone. I may potentially be able to do Pikmin Let's Play videos coming up soon. I just don't really know when. Additionally, if I did Pikmin 2 Let's Play videos, or Pikmin Let's Play videos, they would be from the Wii U initially, and then, when I get to 3 and 4, it'll be from the Switch. Even though there are Switch ports of 1 and 2, I don't really like the Switch ports of the 1 and 2. They mainly because they remove motion controls. Pikmin did this weird thing where they decided that they were getting rid of the motion controls entirely from the previous 3 Pikmin games. Once Pikmin 4 came out. So the thing is if you get Pikmin 3 Deluxe, you can still play with the motion controls based on the Wii version of the game because it's literally, or the Wii U version of the game, because it's literally built off of the Wii U version of the game. So, there's that. There's also a challenge mode to Pikmin that I haven't really covered. I might do that in like a live Let's Play content style. It's honestly one of those things where it's like, we'll wait and see because, I haven't even really started playing Pikmin. But if I did play Pikmin for the Wii, I would play it from the Wii U, so it is at least upscaled to HD. Because you can play Wii games in HD on the Wii U. It does actually play them in a higher fidelity. So that is nice. There are a lot of Wii they're like excuse me. There are a lot of Wii games that look really nice on the Wii U. Um. Oh yeah, I suppose I should go back and talk about like some major events that happened during, during the whole thing. One of which was my big hiatus, or like not even my big hiatus. The reason why I started posting videos so long after I created the channel. So I created this YouTube channel October 27th of 2021. My first video didn't come out until, or I think it was 2020 actually. I think. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's October 27th, 2021. Hold on, that wouldn't work, right? I think it's October 27th, 2020 is when the channel's created actually. So, we'll just use that date. So like the main reason is like I created the channel, with the urge to get back into YouTube. But like soon after, before I could even fully record new projects, I actually got grounded. So this kind of dates back to the beginning of the pandemic. So the pandemic happened, and what had happened was, I had gotten out of school for spring break, but I was actually transferring schools. So my last day at school was on spring break, and I was supposed to start at a new school after spring break. Well, what happened was I basically unenrolled from the one school during spring break, and I wasn't enrolled in school for a while, like, because we were supposed to go in to, like, get my enrollment, and I was supposed to do a tour and everything in person, but, you can't really do that when there's a pandemic. So I was just not enrolled in school for a little while. And then when school came back, I had to get enrolled in school then. And so, I was enrolled in school at a different school. And this new school didn't offer like the same math classes that my previous school did. So I ended up getting placed in like the wrong math class by mistake. Ended up failing that math class. I ended up failing that math class. And then, I failed another math class. Like, because I got put in a different math class that was like, I got stuck with this horrible teacher who, like, wasn't willing. Like, how do I explain this? So, after the pandemic, I was living with my mom during the pandemic, but, after the pandemic, I I got into a fight with my mom, which we didn't make up with. We didn't make up really until this year. And that's actually why I'm going on this trip, is I'll be meeting her again, like after a few years. Like I'll actually be meeting up with her. I did meet up with her like a few weeks ago, like a month ago or so, when my brother went down with her for the summer. But it was one of these cases where I ended up leaving, and so I transferred back to the school that I had originally transferred out of. And I got stuck with this teacher who, by the way, the year after I failed, she just didn't work at the school anymore. We have no idea whether she was fired, she quit, or what. But I had a couple of pretty bad teachers. And, it led to some situations occurring. It led to some situations occurring where, I ended up failing a math class, and then I got grounded because I was failing the math class. Then I had to, like, continue to get ungrounded. And then, like, during all this time, like, I was only allowed to have my phone for, like, an hour a day. Which I thought was, like, crazy. And then eventually I did get ungrounded, but was no longer allowed to have it at night. So, times were rough. When you're a teenage boy with your internet access cut off at night, you can imagine how rough things could be. Let's just say some risks were taken multiple times. But, after that, then it went to summer, and then, I was allowed to have my phone again at night. But then, like, school started back up again, and my parents were talking, like, I was going to have to plug it out again. And I'm like, hold up, I thought we ended that, with the start of summer. And they're like, well, you're going back to school now. And I'm like, so what? Am I still in trouble? And they're like, no. And I'm like, so why am I no longer, you guys made it seem like this is a temporary thing. And eventually they just gave in. I think it was because, like, part of them realized that, like, it was kind of mistreatment towards me because of the fact that, like, for a kid, I had certain responsibilities that, like, no kid should have, especially regarding, certain familial tasks. So they kind of just realized that, it wasn't fully fair for them to be, like, cutting me off like that. And they were eventually just like, well, keep your grades good. you know and so I also had to explain to them how grades worked, because, like, what would happen is you'd take a test in one of my classes and you'd get an F, and it'd stay at an F for like half a month or so. Like, it'd stay at an F for a while. And, they'd be like, well, why is it an F? And I'm like, it's because of this. It'd be like, oh, because I took a quiz, which doesn't stay in the grade book until you take a test over the same stuff. It stays in the grade book until you take a test over the same stuff. So it's supposed to be like a permanent reminder that you do things. But, towards the end of the school year, I ended up, I stopped being able to focus on homework entirely. Like, I just got really bad burnout. Senioritis, as they call it. It's basically a really bad burnout that occurs in your senior year, and you just stop, like, you stop doing your homework and stuff because you're like, oh, I'll just coast to the finish line. You stop putting the gas in, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna coast to graduation. And I almost didn't make it. I actually got, like, pushed through. My math teacher, who I won't, like, ever give out their identity, um, because they could lose their job for this. He just bumped me up from an F to a D because of the amount of effort. Like, I would stay, like, after, like, during when I was supposed to be at lunch, I would stay after to go and do like, to keep continuing this test. And eventually, he was just like, I see how hard you work. I don't think you should get held back just because of this math class. So I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you, an out, which is I'm going to push your grade up to a D. But, if you take this final test and it's an F, I can't really do much about that. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just take it. So I took the D in math. I took the D. But, I took this D, and, I graduated. And it was kind of fun because when I graduated, after the whole ceremony, we walked past, And we walk down the aisles and like all the teachers are there. And like in a way, it kind of reminded me of the end of the Titanic, of the movie Titanic, when she dies, and then she like I guess goes to heaven, and it's still like it's in the Titanic, and like there's all the people who are like welcoming her back. It was kind of like it reminds me of that, except it wasn't nearly as grandiose. But I remember the day of my graduation fucking sucked. But anyway, I was going through school at the time I started with this channel, and now that I'm graduated from school, I've been able to more heavily focus on this channel, put the resources in. And I was lucky enough to be able to have a job that doesn't really interfere much with this. What sucked before was, for a while, like during school, I also had a part time job that, quite frankly, was pretty fucking bad. It was just like, I worked part time. I ended up getting horrible hours. I can only work 1 day a week, but I'd get like these shitty hours. Like I could only work with the weekends. Like I remember I got hired because I told them I can work weekends, and then he's like, "Well, put your availability down." And I literally put the weekend days only. Like I put Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think I initially, or actually, I think I put Saturday and Sunday. Or maybe it was Friday and Saturday. I don't know. But initially I put like Saturday, and they're like, like, did you make a mistake with your availability? And I'm like, no, I can literally, as of right now, only work Saturday. And they had literally, their hand was forced so bad because of employee shortages. They had to take me as an employee, where it was like he could only work 1 day a week. That's how bad their employment was at the time. And it was just crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much that. My current job um, doesn't interfere with it because I do it during the day, so it's also pretty. I wouldn't say like a low effort job, but It's not a taxing job, is what I'll say. It's not like mentally taxing as bad as Cole's was. You know, so I think I've mentioned that before. I used to work at a Kohl's department store. I hope that doesn't dox me. I honestly don't think it will, because most of the people I work with were like really old, like people who honestly shouldn't be ordering stuff from Amazon, but you know, so I worked retail. It sucked, but I'm at a job that luckily isn't retail. I can consistently get 40 hours a week now, and it pays pretty damn well enough for me to go on a vacation and fully plan a vacation pretty much all by myself at age 20, so or at age 19. So I kind of forget that I'm still 19, because I've kind of started thinking in the mindset that I am 20 now. Mainly because it's like less than 3 months away. I will be 20 years old, so I'll officially be 2 decades into my life, and it's kind of crazy. But I'm kind of glad I was able to start this channel before I turned 20. When I was younger, I kind of still had the notion I'd be going to college, and as of right now, I have no plans to go to college. At most, I'd probably take some online classes. Excuse me, I just suddenly burped out of nowhere. I might take some online classes, and maybe, but that would go alongside this. The current job I have, it's not going to last forever, so I'm hoping that eventually I can get to a point where either this channel becomes self sustaining before then. It's obviously not with 50 subscribers, but, baby steps. But, I'm hoping eventually this channel can become self sustaining. I'm hoping that gaming videos don't cease to become monetizable. There was some talk about that regarding AdSense. Hold on. There was some talk about that regarding AdSense. AdSense, if you don't know, that's the program YouTube monetizes ads through. So, you can't really monetize certain things through that, but there was some talk that it was possible YouTube was considering making gaming videos completely unmonetizable. Well, there's a couple of reasons why they couldn't do that. One, they'd lose out to Twitch so hard, but they'd lose out to Twitch. I think they'd lose out to Kick even. Kick's like a different streaming service that, quite honestly, is very bad. That reminds me about when I started Let's Play Sonic Adventure. Let's Play Live Sonic Adventure. When I started Sonic Adventure DX, how I was originally contemplating streaming through Mixer, not knowing that Mixer had actually gone defunct quite some time before I even started that. But originally, you were able to live stream from Xbox, but you could only do it to Mixer, which was Xbox's, or it was the Microsoft streaming service. And people completely moved from Mixer. Twitch, I think, took in most of the people who left Mixer. But I found out you could just stream to Twitch, and I was like, oh, I'm much more comfortable learning about Twitch than I am about Mixer, and that's how the Stitches Johnson Twitch channel got started as well. We're getting pretty up there with the Twitch followers as well. I forget the exact number, but it was like definitely over 30. We got a lot of followers like the last stream I did of Hollow Knight, mainly because that stream was during the day. That stream was during the day, so I kind of, hit the prime time a little bit with that. It was mainly because I streamed in the morning. I did early stream. I don't typically do those because, I typically have to be to work at I typically have to work at starting at like 7:15. So, I typically start work at 7:15 in the morning and don't get off until like somewhere typically between noon to 4 o'clock. And that's like when that's when I stop working for that day. So, I don't really know if there's anything else left to talk about. Overall, I've had a pleasant experience running this channel, whether it be through the hiatuses that I've had, the few hiatuses I've had to take already. I'm honestly glad I've gotten to 50 subscribers this early in, because like every hiatus in a lot of ways felt like having to do a fresh start. And even if the hiatus was only like 2 months, it's 2 months. It's like that's quite a bit of time. Like, there are people who get told they have 2 months left to live. Like, that's how much time, like, 2 months is. So, it's kind of like cool that I've just been able to have you guys continuously watch these videos. You know, whenever I see how like good the numbers are for me on YouTube, you know, it puts a smile on my face. Sometimes when I get depressed, I'll open YouTube Studio, and you know, I'll see the numbers and I get happy. You know, I see that it's like, oh, you know, you have over 100 watching. You know, you have a bunch of watch time hours. You know, you have 50 subscribers. You have all these views. And, you know, like your videos are reaching like high levels of views that it's like, you know, it puts a smile on my face to see that type of stuff. And I'm really happy that you guys are along for the ride. I know that not every single one of my subscribers actively engages in the videos. I know that some of the subscribers are family members who, you know, they subscribe and that's it. You know, so there's definitely some quote unquote empty subscribers. There's some empty subscribers are basically just people who are subscribed but don't actually watch the videos, which I think after a while YouTube removes those. I think it's an anti-botting thing. I'm not super sure, but I know YouTube does unsubscribe people. And I don't know if they do it for all channels, but I've heard it's like an anti-bot measure to prevent bot subscribers. So, yeah, you know, I'm glad that you guys are here for the ride. I hope you guys stick around to watch more than just like the retro stuff. I hope some of you guys like check out my live content. I hope some of you guys check. I hope the people who don't typically watch anything but VODs, you know, I hope you check out my more bite sized content. I know World of Goo has been crazy with the fucking video times. But it's like World of Goo is one of those games where they randomly just decide to put a really long level in. And then, you know, if these levels take me multiple tries, you know. Excuse me. If those videos take multiple, or if those levels take multiple tries, you know, it just takes a lot of time, and I try not to edit videos either. Really, like I try not to cut out major portions of video. I have cut before, but you know, hell, I remember during the Mario playthrough, I had a whole outtake video because there was a day where I just sat down and like I was recording for like 30 minutes and like could not complete it. So I think I took a break or I either waited a day to another day to record and then I sat down and recorded got a beat. But you know. So yeah, you know, I highly encourage people to check out all the different content that I make on this channel. Um, you know, retro games are one of those things where retro games are finite in amount. Technically, I mean, technically, when I say retro now, it can include Pikmin. I mean, the GameCube is retro. Technically, the Wii is retro. Technically, World of Goo is a retro game. That's like how far we've come. So, you know, if it's a game from my childhood, it's at a point where like it's a retro game now. And that's just crazy. But you know, I'm really excited to, you know, continue the channel. Do more Let's Plays. And yeah, that's really all I have left to say. Also, because I'm kind of starting to get bored and I'm starting to repeat myself. So, this is all really in one take. Like, all I did was some practice mumbling before this, where I, fucking talk to myself to practice these types of videos. But I digress. So, yeah, thank you all for subscribing, and I hope you continue. I hope we can get up to 100 subscribers. The next milestone, I should declare that. Next milestone is not 100, but it's 75. So, I don't actually know if I ever did a 25 subscriber special. I feel like I did, but I also feel like maybe I didn't. I don't know. Maybe I did do one and then it was never. No, because I think the 25 subscriber one was the tier list. I don't know. I'll check after the video. I can't really check because I record these with my phone. So, yeah. But, yeah, I hope you guys continue to watch the channel. And, yeah, I guess I will see you in the next video, whatever that may be. I don't actually know what it is at the time. So, see ya.